The story of a former New Orleans Saint cheerleader now living in Sarasota is making headlines across the country and even around the world. Tonight, ABC 7's Erica Jackson reports on Bailey Davis and her fight against one of the NFL's top teams.
Alan, thank you. The former cheerleader now living in Sarasota has filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission against the Saints, accusing the organization of gender discrimination. The complaint comes after she was fired following a social media post and claims cheerleaders have to follow strict fraternization and social media rules, while the football players don't have the same regulations.
It's not fair that we work our whole lives just like the players do to be treated like this.
Sarasota resident Bailey Davis cheered for the New Orleans Saints for 3 years, but in January, she was fired.
We're both employed by the Saints, so I think our rules should be the same.
Her termination is now raising questions of fairness and whether the team is holding its star players to the same standards of its cheerleaders. The St. Sacian's cheer team's handbook states cheerleaders will be terminated for socializing with the team's players, reading, being in close proximity, or socializing beyond general professional courtesy will be considered a violation. According to the complaint, if a cheerleader is at a restaurant and if a player walks in, the cheerleader must leave immediately. And while the Saints have its own regulations for football players, the complaint adds it contains no limitation of contacting cheerleaders.
If we can't talk to the football players need to have the rule and know that they can't talk to us, or, do away with the rule.
We spoke with a former NFL cheerleader who chooses to remain anonymous, but she tells us fraternization rules for industry cheerleaders are nothing out of the ordinary. But legal analyst Joe Responti says most stay-away orders require the person arriving second to leave the venue if they see the other person. He acknowledges the Saints rule is not the norm.
I think that is very onerous, and I have a feeling that that's going to get changed pretty soon.
But Davis says it was another incident the team used as a pretext to fire her, posing for certain types of photos. The handbook reads participation in nude, semi-nude, or lingerie photography is strictly prohibited and terms for immediate dismissal. Davis says she followed social media guidelines during her time on the team, keeping her profiles private, blocking the players' accounts, and not sharing photos semi-nude or in lingerie. Then she shared this photo in January and was terminated. According to the complaint, the Saints Human Resources Director said the photo calls into question whether Davis followed all team rules on appropriate attire.
That was actually part of her Halloween costume. It was not lingerie, but I can see that they believed that. But regardless of if they believed it was lingerie or not, the discretion isn't the problem. The problem is the rule itself is discriminatory.
The Saints responded to Davis's complaint, releasing this statement. The New Orleans Saints do not tolerate discrimination of any kind, and it specifically denies that Ms. Davis was treated any differently on account of her sex. Blackwell credits the development of Davis's complaint to the Me Too movement, and Responti believes that's one push for the case to create change.
Even if the NFL is not a defendant in this particular case and can extricate themselves from this, they still need to pay attention to this because their member teams are doing things that in 2018 don't pass the smell test.
Responti believes Blackwell will have a tough time winning the gender discrimination case rather than making an argument for workplace discrimination. But Susan Nylon with the Nylon Report argues the issue is clear.
You have a different set of rules for the men and you have a different set of rules for the women. How could you not recognize that it's a gender issue?
Nylon thinks Davis's case will change what happens behind the scenes and hopes women will pay closer attention while signing contracts.
If we start to stand up on a personal level, they'll start to think twice about asking us to behave in that way.
And by filing the complaint, Davis wants the Saints and all NFL teams to change the policies.
I want to be treated like a professional athlete, just like the professional football players are treated like professional football players. I want to be treated like a professional cheerleader.
Davis's attorney says she can't sue the Saints because she signed an arbitration agreement. She has requested arbitration along with a hearing with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell.
Erica, thank you.